Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. In this podcast, we are going to unbox some brand new, in-the-box, 1980s Arco solar modules. And I've got my friend Jeff Spies here, and also helping us doing a lot of the photography is Patel.
Hey everyone.
And we are doing a podcast about these Arco solar modules that we're going to unbox. And since most people listen to podcasts on audio, like iTunes or Spotify, what I'm going to do is some narrations. But if you really want to get the gist of it, you want to see what these old modules look like, check it out on YouTube. And of course, you can see all the different links to all the different places to see the podcast at SolarSEAN.com/podcast. You can see hundreds of podcasts and where to listen to them on all the different platforms. And first, what we're doing here is we are looking at another Arco solar module that was not recently unboxed. In fact, since the 80s, it has spent most of its life in the sun. It has a brown tint to it, and here it is. First of all, maybe Jeff, you want to talk about this module right here?
So Arco is considered to be probably the first major module manufacturer that was used in the home power sector back in the 1980s when some of the folks living in the off-grid communities started to electrify their homes with solar panels. This particular module is the M51 module. There were a couple generations earlier than this that were commonly used off-grid, the 16-2000, which had 33 cells, then the 16-2300, like this module, had 35 cells. But I'm not entirely certain what made the 16-2300 with 35 cells different than this M51, but you'll notice that this back sheet has gone a bit brown. That happened with a lot of these early modules. And these particular modules have a little bit more sophisticated circuit pattern on the cells themselves. But what's in these boxes, these are unopened boxes from 1980.
The 80s.
Like early 80s, like 81, 82, 83
like
time frame.
You'd still be hearing disco on the radio. Yeah. I think I have a business plan for us, Jeff. We can color match this paint and we can put on some new modules. It's sort of like antiquing, you know, like
it is,
how people can like antique their dressers with like special paints and things like that.
It's sepia toned.
Sepia toned, yeah. So I guess what the browning is, from what I've heard, it's photo degradation. And one of the things that's interesting about these modules in the box is I think they've never seen light. I mean, I bought them on eBay. As soon as I saw them, I just grabbed them really quick, and they actually got delivered to me here. And I think these boxes have never seen light, but since we've never opened them, we also don't know if they might be full of garbage.
Yeah, we'll find out in a moment. All right, so let's set this.
So here they are. And so we're taking the cover off of these two boxes that say Arco Solar on them. Arco modules, and I was wondering if we should like open one box now and not another.
Yeah.
And another thing too that we
Arco Solar, these are the original boxes from 1980s, and it was shipped by a company called Shared Energy Systems from Wilmington, Delaware, to a company called Baytech Equipment Company in Walnut Creek, California, which is really interesting because these modules were made in Southern California, and then this shipment label shows that they were shipped from a company in Delaware to a company in Walnut Creek, not far from where we're at right now.
Yeah, and right here it says Arco Solar Inc., subsidiary of Atlantic Richfield Company, 21011 Warner Center Lane, P.O. Box 4400, Woodland Hills, California. I believe Woodland Hills is Southern California.
Yeah, which is interesting because I know they were in Camarillo, so I'm not sure about this Woodland Hills location and how that related to the history of Arco, but it's still pretty darn interesting.
And earlier today too, you were saying something about, on the back of that module, it says Carrizo, and we're looking at the older Arco solar module that spent its life in the sun.
Well, yeah, so this particular module, a lot of people, when they see these brown modules, they tend to associate them with the Carrizo Plains, which was the first large utility scale solar installation I was aware of, at least.
Yeah, apparently this solar project in the middle of California, operated between 1983 and 1994 with 100,000 1-foot by 4-foot PV modules making 5.2 megawatts. I think it was the biggest in the world by far. But I think the leftovers from that project supposedly started the solar industry. Yeah.
So what happened was in 1980, they built that big Carrizo Plains utility scale solar field with modules that looked very much like this. And what they had done is they put reflectors to intensify the irradiance of the sun's energy on the modules.
That's how I usually tan myself, yeah.
But it was a bad idea because what it did is it baked this encapsulant, the plastic that sealed the cell on the front and the back that's sandwiched in between the glass of the module and the back sheet. And it baked these encapsulant to where it turned really brown and it reduced the efficiency of the module. So they sold off when they decided to close that utility scale solar field, probably because the power production was declining as a result of their inappropriate use of reflectors. They sold those modules to a lot of off-grid homesteaders for, at the time, relatively inexpensive prices. And they had them graded in Carrizo Gold, Carrizo Bronze, which was less power output. And then they had ones called Mud, where you had to use a bunch of modules together just to get the power of one module. But this particular module on the back, it says Carrizo Solar Corporation. What's interesting is, to my knowledge, came from a separate, unrelated company that took advantage of the Carrizo Solar name to try to sell these modules. So this particular module was sold by Carrizo Solar. It is an Arco M51 module, but it does have that classic brown down look. So let's see what's inside.
And let me tell you the story about this particular module too. I was talking to a guy at a NorCal Solar meeting probably like 10 years ago, and he had a bunch of these modules on his roof in San Francisco for like maybe 20 something years. And he was upgrading to a new, more modern system. And he sold me, I think it was like 12 of them for $300, something like that. And he also gave me the charge controller, which I gave to Bill Brooks, and some other stuff too. And they were all Arco branded and stuff like that. And then just another thing that's kind of interesting, you were just looking at this. I just had somebody on the podcast, and he was telling me that this was designed after a gas cap of a Dodge Dart. And that would be the podcast that we recently released. And it's titled Arco Solar with Don Belinsky Remembering Russ Campbell. And apparently Russ Campbell designed the junction box to look like a gas cap of a Dodge Dart.
I do want to point out one thing too. It's really interesting. The grounding hole is all corroded away. So I probably used a copper ground lug that was physically making direct contact with the aluminum, which will wear that aluminum away over time.
Yeah, that's galvanic corrosion. That's how a battery works. And I remember John Wiles used to have a picture in his presentations of that, somebody with a copper touching aluminum and it eats the aluminum. So that's the aluminum frame that's less noble, as they call it. We also have something that's unusual here too. Phillips screws holding the frames together. So this thing is heavy duty.
You know what? They were solid modules. They had thick glass. They were, relatively small, so they could take a lot of abuse, but very expensive. I think these modules in the predecessor to this that was sold in the early 80s was selling $400 for a 33 watt module. So in current dollars, I think that equated to, I'm trying to remember, like $45 a watt in today's dollars, but maybe it's more like $50 a watt.
So like 200 times more or even more than that.
It's ridiculous.
The going price of the global market.
Prices have come down. All right, well, let's unbox.
Off to the boxes. And so maybe let's start off with opening one.
Do you have
and maybe we'll do the one with it's hard to decide. This one is a little more beat up here, but this one, I think it's neat having this shipping label.
Yeah, it is.
So this shipping label's better. And I just had some scissors right here. And how do you want to go about it?
Do you want to open it like this so we can show the camera?
Sure,
So I'll just hold it for you while you do the honor.
So the box is being opened. And plus my last name is White, like Vanna White.
Do people know who Vanna White is anymore?
I know, I got to stop using that. Somebody called me the Johnny Carson of solar, and I was thinking, oh, I'll use that. And I was like, I wonder if people don't know who
No,
Johnny
these
Carson
things
is.
look good.
These things look smoking hot.
Wow.
None.
Even the cardboard looks like high-end cardboard.
I can see some cool looking cells in there. And there's no photo degradation at all. These things have never seen light. So it kind of reminds me too of light-induced degradation.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the life of the solar module, you might lose like 0.5 or 1% your first month or so. And these ones have not seen light. Should we just keep them? I think light is probably not good for solar modules. Do you think? I think more people should keep them boxed. They work better that way.
So do you want to just
Wow.
hold these? So
That's like 1980s styrofoam. Whoa, look
those
at
junction boxes are interesting.
this dual junction boxes.
Ooh, these cells are cool looking.
I think
Man, oh man, they really went to town on these cells. I think this might be the first generation of square-celled solar PV modules. I haven't seen these ones
I
before.
think it looks cool. It's
It
kind of
does.
psychedelic.
Yeah,
I think
come
it's
take a
designed
look.
by a hippie.
Oh, well, all the modules are designed by solar hippies. But look at the intricate circuit design on this. The reason I think they put all these tiny little extra diagonal lines in was to increase the efficiency of electron harvest. I don't know that it was really necessary to do that per se, but you can see they put a lot of energy into making a very intricate design on the cell itself.
I think they were just tripping.
This is pretty cool.
I think
module.
I think they were like doing tie-dyes when they made this one.
And the junction box has changed over noticeably too. I guess this is a little dust on there. Yeah, look at
And
that.
you know what was interesting too about the old one and this one is that it doesn't have anything like standard test conditions, UL.
It didn't exist
And
back then.
it just like back then, I mean, I guess they invented Article 690, that's solar photovoltaic systems in the National Electrical Code in 1985. And so they wouldn't have adopted that until sometime later.
Well, here, I'll tell you what, you take that module. I'm going to put
Okay.
these others, I'm going to set the box down just so that there's no damage done to these. I hate
Okay, and one thing I want to do though is put this one next to the old one, or what do you think?
Here, the old one here.
I got an idea. Should we like put this old one in the box and then I'll return it to the guy? Like, I want my money back.
This module's pretty cool, man. I wouldn't get rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you want to put
So
the
that's
other,
kind of
the
crazy
other foam
that,
block up on top?
this old solar module now has spent most of its life in the sun, and this one has not seen any sun.
It's 40 some odd year old brand new PV module, unused.
And then this one has one less cell in the middle. These ones are almost round, and these ones, they are mono because they have rounded corners, I believe, you know. So this would be monocrystalline.
They were monocrystalline cut. Yeah, so they trimmed off the corners of the cells. But I'll tell you something interesting. You'll notice this has 36 cells in it, right?
Yeah.
So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times 3, 36 cells. You might notice this has 35 cells. The first modules that I saw being used in home power had 33 cells. And you might wonder, why did they go from 33 cells to 35 cells to 36 cells? And Brian Teitelbaum at AEE told me once, and this is really interesting, that when they first started making solar photovoltaic modules, they were made to charge 12-volt batteries, 12-volt lead-acid batteries. And they didn't really know how much voltage you needed to charge a 12-volt lead-acid battery. And so what they found was that the 33 cell modules, which produced about 0.5 volt per cell at that time, were only getting up to about 16.5 volts, which was not sufficient voltage to fully charge a flooded cell lead acid battery. And the thing about lead acid batteries is they like to get fully charged on a regular basis to keep them healthy. So as time went on, they increased the cell count. There were some 34 cell modules, and then this was a 35 cell module, and then they landed on 36 cell. This created enough voltage to fully charge a lead acid battery and get it into that point where it was equalizing, where it was boiling off some of the water and getting that sulfation off the lead plates. So this was the format, 36 cells, that ended up being the dominant format for a couple decades after this kind of format came out of 36 cells. So very interesting. And the junction box on this, I'm kind of curious to see what that looks like if we remove it.
Yeah, okay. We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSEAN, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show. Okay.
Do we have a screwdriver?
That would require a screwdriver. Another thing I was going to mention too, when you're talking about less amount of cells. So typically, like people call it a 12 volt module, 36 cells. This is a 35 cell module, and it changes the shape of what we call the IV curve. So it gives you a lower voltage because cells in series make your voltage. And at the back of the NEC, the last thing in Article 690 has to do with what's called a self-regulating system, and they can charge batteries without a charge controller.
Because they don't charge the battery all the way up, though.
Yeah, because the voltage drops off at the voltage into the IV curve. So it's a slower charge, but it doesn't overcharge it.
It never overcharges it, but unfortunately you want to occasionally overcharge it. Therein lies the dilemma.
Well, it depends on your temperature, and it could like still perhaps trickle charge it, but you just won't be at the maximum power point.
Yeah, and you'll never get it up to, generally speaking, those flooded cell lead acid batteries, you want to push that voltage to probably around 17.5 volts when you're getting to that equalizing stage. So what they found was the 33 cell modules, which only got up to about 16.5 volts, the batteries would just die prematurely. And then when they got them up to 36 cells with a charge controller that would control things a little bit more effectively, the batteries would last a lot longer.
Great. Okay, so now we have this dual junction box. Another thing that's kind of weird is a lot of the time that Jeff and I have been doing solar, it's been single junction box modules. And nowadays, there's a lot of multi-junction box modules where they're having like half cell modules with the different 3 junction boxes for 3 bypass diodes and things like that. And so here we are back to 2. So I'm guessing, positive and negative. This says positive, that says negative. Okay, nobody's opened this since 1980 something.
How much did you pay for these, Sean?
I probably don't want to tell you because you're going to be like, I want one. No, okay. $200.
For a box?
No, for 2 boxes.
Holy moly, 100. So you got a bypass diode in here?
Oh, look at that. It's missing a screw.
Oh, that is interesting.
I want a refund.
Did that something else fall out besides
there's
the
a little gasket there.
I thought I might have seen another or something.
Maybe like a black cat. Yeah, it's $200 for 2 boxes. Isn't that crazy?
So $100 box, $25 a module. That's very...
What we can see here is there's little knockouts, and there's also little screw terminals up there so we can connect wires to these different places. It's got a little warning electrical hazard sign there.
Now they've got 2 points of grounding.
2 grounding points, yeah. But it looks like it's done nice. It's not worn out. Nothing's old. 434, maybe that's serial number, 434.
Kind of curious how they did their serial numbers back in the day. But Charlie Gay, I bet he can give us more history on this particular module.
Okay.
This was at a point when they were really starting to make a lot of volume.
So should we put our fingers there? See what happens? No, actually nothing would happen because this is just all like one polarity there. What I'm looking at here too, though, is you got I've heard of some of these older modules where you could reduce the voltage. What is that? Is that a bypass diode?
It looks like a bypass diode, so they probably just have this module separated into 2 separate circuits.
Okay.
is my guess. It'd be interesting to map out how the cells were connected together. It's really easy to see how these cells were connected together. These square cell modules a little bit harder, because how do you figure out the way the circuit runs? You can see this cell goes to this one, goes to that one, coming back up, but I'm guessing
I can see the bus bar coming across here to all these.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder, if you're just listening to this podcast and you want to see what we're talking about, go check us out on YouTube. You can go to SolarSEAN.com/podcast, and you can find this podcast there and the YouTube link, or you can see the YouTube link in the show notes on whatever platform you are looking at. It looks like it's going from the front of this one to the back of this one. It's kind of strange.
One other thing that's really
back.
weird about this one is look at how close the cells come to the module frame, Sean.
Oh, this one must just go all the way up.
There's no distance.
We're going to get like frame shading. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting too, since these were used in predominantly low voltage DC systems, you didn't have to worry about shorting between the circuit and the cell to the module frame. But if you put this in a high voltage DC circuit today, you'd probably see that voltage would jump right to the, you get a short on the system. All right, very cool.
Well, that's pretty cool. So I've got some other things here too that I ordered from the internet, from the World Wide Web. And so you ready for this unboxing? Do you know about this company here?
Is that SolarX? Yeah, SolarX.
Yeah, SolarX. So I got this, and that is a SolarX sweatshirt, probably something like 40 years old.
SolarX was probably the other major US manufacturer of modules back in the 1980s. And their history was very interesting. They started out taking scrap cells, wafers, and they made them into modules for the terrestrial PV market. They used to buy them in big 55-gallon drums and then just repurpose those waste cells into PV modules. And they were based in Frederick, Maryland.
And this is kind of like, it's got the 80s style, you know, like George Michaels would wear this probably, something like that. And then what else did I get? I have another box here. Okay. So this is my latest released book.
Oh, cool.
Solar Photovoltaic Basics.
Hang on, let me see this.
And that's
fancy
the hardbound one. Most people get the softbound one. These are probably, I think, softbound ones. So that's the third edition of Solar Photovoltaic Basics, and it just came out. In fact, that was the first copy I've ever seen.
The font size is made for youngsters. Yeah. But no, this is a nice book. Holy mackerel, Sean. Very slick.
And then here's the soft copy. There you go. This one's for you.
Wow, far out, man.
And for our photographer, Deep Patel.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is a very nice book. So this is the updated version.
Yeah, this is the one that people use for the associate exam.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to have to read it and see if I know everything in there.
I think so. I'm sure you will.
Well, I'm sure I know some of it.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, great.
What's this cell here?
That one is, have you ever heard of Bela Solar? And so they are manufacturing solar in Indiana.
Yes,
you know
I've heard
Suntech?
of them now, yes.
It's a Dr. Shi company. And Dr. Shi originally founded Suntech like, 20-some years ago. And what they're doing is they are making this thin, flexible solar module in Indiana. And so it's very lightweight. So if your roof can't handle these extra loads, they can put these on it. And they have different ways to make it work with different racking systems, or they can just glue it onto the roof. And so I went to their factory.
Is the reason for this texture on the front?
I don't know, it's just the way that they seal it up, or maybe it makes it so it absorbs the light instead of reflects it away. I'm not sure.
I do know there was a company in Wisconsin, if memory serves, that was making modules that had these textured surface, like lots of little bumps. I remember they mentioned something about it allowed you to harvest more light because of the texture on the front. Whether or not that's true, I'm not sure.
Well, even like when they take a regular wafer, they call it chemical etching. And so they make it rough, so it absorbs more light. So if you have a bunch of valleys, the photons, the light is more likely to bounce around than if it's just a flat surface like a mirror.
Yeah, otherwise they'd bounce back into space.
And they are also making like regular solar modules, and they're also buying made in America cells. So God bless America.
Bila Solar.
It's got an American flag right there.
All right, well, we've got unboxed a 42-year-old module. First
like
time
that.
seeing the
That's a
light of
good
day.
number.
And again, very cool cell pattern. I think that is the neatest thing about this module. Those cells are very intricate. Cool looking. Well, there you go.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Deep.
Go solar.
Thanks, Jeff. All right.
Hey, Sean.
High five.
Let me take the scissors out of my hand.
Woo! Just thought I'd mention what we're doing here is we are going to the CALSSA annual meeting, and anybody should join CALSSA, even if you're in New York. It's the California Solar and Storage Association, and they do a lot of lobbying for solar. They've been very pro distributed generation for rooftop solar and things like that. And we're going to go to their big event. Jeff's on the board of not only NABCEP, but also CALSSA.
Yeah, tomorrow, the CALSSA annual banquet.
Remember last year I came and I didn't have a ticket,
we got you a
and I made a little sign that says, I need a miracle, and I had
Didn't take you long to get one, though.
yeah, you helped me out.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the feedback on this.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I wonder why that screw's missing. I wonder if there's a screw missing on it. Maybe you should return it for...
Yeah. You're like, you bastard sold me a missing screw.
Let's pop the other one off just for the sake
See
of
if it-
conversation to see if it's missing.
Okay, so what we're gonna do here is, you know what? This one has 4 screws. Look at this one, it only has 2.
No, but you only had 2 screws that you removed here too.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It had 4 screw holes, but only 2 screws in it.
Man, somebody has a screw loose.
Yeah, it is interesting why they might have done it that way.
And they have nice, not only silicon solar cells, but silicone gaskets, silicone versus silicon. There's a different type of a gasket there, and it is missing a screw, so there must be some kind of purpose for that.
There probably is.
Do you ground in there or something?
No,
Ground wire in?
no, you wouldn't want a ground wire in there, I don't think.
No, the ground's going to go right here, but it may have to do with how you're making your connections from one module to the next, and if you're doing series parallel circuits where you're combining.
Yeah, maybe.
In here?
Yeah, because maybe you pull out the diode and you could parallel or something like that. Because
Yeah.
it does have like, maybe you pull this out, take out the diode, and then you've got like half voltage, something like that.
I'm
So,
not
like,
sure. Yeah, I wonder why.
Half a 36, something like that.
That's an interesting theory.
Well,
Yeah,
you
let's
can-
find out. Charlie Gay will definitely tell us the
Okay.
details when he sees us. As soon as you
You're-
post this to LinkedIn, he'll be the first one to comment.
You hear that, Charlie? All right.
Charlie used to be the president of Arco Solar back in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Great.
And he also ran the Sunshot
Yeah.
program for the Department
Do you
of
think
Energy.
it was his screw debt? They were like, you're buying too many screws, Charlie.
I'm sure he's going to have a story to tell.
All right.
Yeah, and you can see the direction of power flow for the diode
Oh, yeah.
molded right into the plastic of the junction box.
Yeah, what a good find.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta get
In
this
the
early.
box, you know, like,
Yeah, it was like, it seemed something was fishy about it. You know, it's like there's probably like drug money and murder involved. You can look at the podcast with Don Belinsky, and we also talk about these modules.
Those are really interesting looking.
Yeah, it's so different.
It is. The interesting thing is the M55, which is next generation, didn't have all those crazy circuit patterns on them.
Okay, really, I just got these at AM/PM Mini Mart. And Jeff's on the NABCEP board. And you can also go to Planet Plan Sets, and both of these guys are partners in Planet Plan Sets, correct?
That is correct.
These guys are business partners, and I'm just a monkey business partner messing around all the time. And tell us more too about Go Green Solar.
yeah, we help DIYers and installers get DIY solar kits, and then they, with our support, install them. So we've been doing that for about 20 years now. And yeah, we help people all over the U.S. successfully complete solar and storage projects.
With a full suite of services, your design, interconnection, application processing, custom installation guide, it's a nice suite of supporting services for the DIYers.
And we are here at the top secret Solar Training Center, location to be disclosed on a later date.
Yeah, what do they call it? Undisclosed location. Top secret undisclosed.
And thanks for listening to Sean White's Solar Energy Storage Podcast. Get yourself NABCEP certified, and maybe someday you too will be installing Arco Solar modules. Ow!